I have to make sure that I don't get too much of their broadcast in. But as you can see, December 1st, 2017 has basically been one of the worst days in the Trump presidency legally thus far. As many of you who've watched my channel for a long time know, I called it long before anybody else that Donald Trump was going to get the nomination for the GOP and that he was going to win the presidency. But now I have to face the reality, and so do you, that he is going to be a one-term president, and whoever the Democrats run or independents manage to run, populist movements towards getting that nomination, that person is going to be the next president. We have absolutely no idea who it's going to be, but that person is going to be the president because right now Flynn is flipping like pancakes. And I have a very good case as to why I'm 100% certain that's what's going to happen. And you can look back in my videos. If you look back in my videos, you'll know that I was saying it long before anybody said it, and I traced every single one of his competitors getting knocked down. He was knocking them all down. And why was that? The reason why was because I lost faith in the American voter, for one, and I also lost faith in the system. And I recognized that Donald Trump was a megalomaniac, sociopath troll that this system was in no way prepared to deal with. And that's the thing. Most people do not understand what a sociopath is. Most people do not understand what true trolling is. Most people don't understand how someone could completely sacrifice cognitive dissonance. Most people don't understand the sociopath mentality. I said sociopence because I saw Mike Pence on there. But anyway, I understand it really well. But the bigger mistake that all of these idiots and all of these PhD morons on these television shows, see, if I had had a television show, I would have been quoted, oh yeah, he called it. Big Truck Series called it a long time ago. Trump was going to be president. If I had had my own show, nobody would have listened to me and everybody say, yeah, you're crazy, right up until the guy swore in. But now I'm telling you he's going to be a one-term president. And I'm really tired of arguing morons online that he's going to be a one-term president. But it's obvious that he's going to be. The Electoral College couldn't stop him from getting in. They were supposed to be there in order to make sure that there was a buffer between the vote and the office. That's how they were set up to be. But the problem was Hillary was such a shitty candidate, which I've made fun of numerous times. You had people like Jill Stein, and you had Bernie Sanders, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who got caught trying to rig the election when they realized that Sanders was stealing Hillary's energy, her momentum, her flame. He was stealing her spotlight. Bernie Sanders would have never been able to win a national election, but these idiot Bernie supporters, these idiot, I call them quote unquote burnouts, these morons really believed that Bernie Sanders could win. The problem is they weren't counting on the amount of anti-Semitism and the amount of racism that I knew existed across this country based upon what I was seeing at the Trump rallies every single time he'd come on a rally. Never in the history of politics have you seen someone able to say throw somebody out of a rally and don't give them their coat. Never in the history of politics have you seen somebody able to get away with saying the things that Trump has said. Every single thing that he has said would have torpedoed anybody else's political campaign. This guy was able to make fun of a handicap. Oh, I don't know what he said. I don't remember. He was able to say, yeah, grab him by the pussy. He was able to say every single thing that would have torpedoed anybody else's campaign, and he only got away with it because Hillary was a shitty candidate. But these PhD morons, they thought that they could count on the results of the last two elections. So let's take a look and understand why they thought that. Your average Trump supporter wants to think about Hillary losing the Electoral College, but what they don't want to talk about is the fact that Hillary still won the popular vote by about 3 million votes. Most likely, that is because those votes were sandwiched in California and New York, or mostly the high-populated liberal states. But what we really should be thinking about is the turnout in 2008 and 2012. Barack Obama not only defeated McCain with the electoral vote and the popular vote, he did it by such a wide margin that there was absolutely no question that he completely destroyed McCain. But it wasn't that Barack Obama beat McCain. Barack Obama defeated 8 years of a George Bush presidency. He rode in on a repudiation of the previous president. Why was that repudiation happening? Well, if you think back, the entire economy fell apart on September 8th, September 15th of 2008. And that was right before the election. So under those circumstances, anybody on the opposition was going to win, because when you've got people looking at their pockets and their pensions and their 401ks and saying, holy fuck, I just lost $40,000 or $50,000, suddenly the opposition suddenly looks a lot better. Now, Hillary's problem was because Bernie Sanders had taken her spotlight away from her for so long, all of the people who should have turned out to vote for her didn't. Had the people turned out to vote for her in at least the numbers that they turned out in 2012, notice that Barack Obama lost about 4 or 5 million voters in 2012. But mostly that's because some people weren't happy with Obamacare and such and such and such. Bottom line is, even at their strongest, the GOP Republican voters still couldn't have defeated the Democrat voters when even 5 million less turned out in 2012. Now, when you look at this graph wasn't finalized by election night. So I just want you to understand that on this graph, what you're looking at is the graph that they came up with like the day right after the election. And over time, we counted all the votes, which I can show you in the next infographic or whatever you want to call it. But the simple fact of the matter is, this time around, there is no Bernie Sanders. This time around, there is no Hillary Clinton. That's the reason why Trump keeps getting on television and say, yeah, I want to see Hillary Clinton run again. Well, because he thinks that he can actually beat her. My issue is that considering where Mueller's investigation is going and considering how many people may be flipped before next summer, you really have no idea whether or not he'll be forced into resignation. And let's say he doesn't get impeached because the GOP isn't doing its job. Here's my question. Who's supposed to impeach congressmen for not impeaching an impeachable offense? That's my question. It's easy to throw around the word collusion. It's easy to throw around the word conspiracy. It's easy to throw those words around. But my question is, if you know that this person slid in on some type of conspiracy or collusion, then you're not doing your job by not impeaching them. So as far as I'm concerned, this entire goddamn Congress needs to be impeached. The word purge comes to mind. Unfortunately, nobody wants to use that word now that a movie has made that word significant and synonymous with violence. But in the old days, that was the word we would use when we would talk about an entire Congress who's not doing their job being brought up on charges. But nobody is prepared to go there. So this is what I will say. This Congress is not happy with this president. The opposition is not happy with this president. The majority of this country is not happy with this president. Now, because of the Constitution and the way it is, yeah, just because you're not happy with him, that doesn't mean he just gets removed. However, if there are serious misdemeanors or felonies or high crimes, yes, he can be impeached. Not only can he be impeached, but he could be forced into resignation if he chooses not to be impeached, because under the 25th Amendment, Section 4, if the president is no longer able to discharge the duties, hint, hint, let's say if there's a possibility he's mentally ill, like bullying people, cyberbullying people on Twitter, or let's say that he commits some type of misdemeanor or high crime or anti-government crime that he could be charged with it. Like, for instance, when he was suggesting that the NFL fire some of the players who refused to take a stand or decided to take a knee in protest, which actually is their right. If the NFL wants to punish these people on their own, that's up to them. But no government employee, and I can actually post, there's actually a law, no government employee is allowed to suggest that a private entity punish its own workers. So once again, this Congress is a bunch of crooks. This Congress is a bunch of traitors to the Constitution. In fact, I don't think half of them read it. I could probably quote it more than they could. But the problem is I'll never get a chance to hold them down and give them a test. So my bottom line is this. Trump is a one-term president. All of these people who didn't vote are going to show up to vote in opposition. All of these people are going to show up to repudiate him. That much is obvious at this point. So at this point, all these people who I'm arguing with online, I don't even really have to argue with you now. All I got to do is just post this video after I finish finalizing it. And I'm not saying that I want him to be a one-term president. I'm saying he's going to be a one-term president. Just like I'm not saying before that I absolutely wanted him to win. I'm saying that he was going to win based on the facts that were there. This Mueller investigation is going to continue. And not only is it going to continue, but it's going to continue with the support of the government, because at this point, Trump can't fire him, because if he fires him, yes, that would be absolute obstruction of justice, especially since Flynn lied and said that he didn't take any money for Russia, and then they find a goddamn check for $45,000. Hey, if I voted for Trump, where the fuck is my check for $45,000? In fact, the Russians could send me they could send me a Lamborghini or some shit in the mail if I'm gonna vote. If I'm gonna vote their way, then they should be paying me too. Why is it this guy get $45,000? I don't get nothing. I could put that $45,000 in Bitcoin, sons of bitches. So anyway, bottom line is Trump's a one-term president. That's just where it is. Sorry, that's just where it is. So anybody who wants to argue and everything, you can argue with me right up until fucking November 2020 when you find out that I'm absolutely right. Because everybody who watches my channel knows that I was saying for 2 years, I was saying Trump's going to destroy all of these people. I realized right away that they had no idea how to handle him. I realized right away exactly what his tactic was. He was trolling you, and you're too stupid to figure it out. He conned you. He conned you. I knew he was doing it. It was funny. It was a great laugh. But now the government has turned serious, and now they're coming after him, guns blazing. So one-term president, I'm calling it 2020. He's either going to be forced into resignation if he's not impeached, or whatever happens, somebody's going to get in there because they voted for it instead of him. He's going to get repudiated. I already see it happening. It's coming. Get ready. Trump is a one-term president. Sorry.